all drawn to stories of heroism, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
People who run towards danger while everyone else is running away.
Right.
But what about when it's not a movie?
Yeah.
What about those real-life heroes?
Exactly.
That one's making impossible choices.
Like, how do you even process that?
And how do organizations dedicated to helping others, dedicated to alleviating suffering, how do they handle it when things go wrong internally?
That's what we're diving into today.
Doctors Without Borders.
Yeah, Doctors Without Borders.
Known for, well, I mean, it's right there in the name, right? Alleviating suffering.
Exactly.
But how do they deal with internal wrongdoing?
The tough question.
It is. And thankfully, we've got some fascinating research to dig into.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a sociological article, actually.
Oh, wow. Okay.
The Limits of Leniency, Analysis of the Treatment of Misconduct in an International Humanitarian Organization.
Really gets to the heart of it, doesn't it?
It does. It really does.
So this article, it was published in a French journal.
Okay.
And they draw on, like, real accounts,
Wow.
from people within Doctors Without Borders.
So we're talking firsthand experiences here.
Yeah, firsthand experiences, research. They really got into it.
MSF, as they're often called.
Yeah, MSF.
And what they found, these researchers, it's complex.
It is.
And honestly, kind of unsettling.
Yeah.
How this renowned organization, how they deal with ethical dilemmas in the field.
Because it's not always clear-cut, is it?
Not at all. So let's get into it, shall we?
Yeah, let's unpack this.
The article, it identifies two main types of leniency we see within MSF.
Okay.
Rational leniency.
Okay.
And compassionate leniency.
Interesting. So are we asking, like, can an organization be both compassionate and accountable?
That's the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because these two types, they represent this constant push and pull between those two ideals.
Right.
So rational leniency, I don't know, it sounds kind of cold, right?
Yeah, a little bit. Like, we're putting efficiency over ethics, almost.
Right, like the ends justify the means.
It's more about prioritizing the collective good.
Okay.
Even if it means, overlooking some individual misconduct.
Like what? What are we talking about here?
The article, they give an example of potential fuel theft.
Fuel theft?
Yeah.
Like in a conflict zone?
Exactly, in a conflict zone.
Wow.
So think about that for a second.
Okay.
You're in this high-stakes situation.
Yeah.
You suspect someone on your logistics team. Maybe they're skimming some fuel.
Okay.
But if you go and stop it, right,
Yeah.
it could disrupt everything.
The whole supply chain?
Exactly. The supply chain, putting lives at risk.
Oh, wow.
What do you do?
Seriously, what do you do? Do you report it?
It's a tough call.
It is.
And the article suggests that, MSF sometimes will look the other way.
Really?
In these situations.
Wow.
For prioritizing the immediate needs. Gotcha. The mission, the safety of the team, the larger team. They call it...
choosing your battles.
Exactly. Choosing your battles.
Yeah.
Which I think, a lot of us can relate to that.
Oh, absolutely.
Even if it's not, life or death situations.
Right.
Yeah.
But it makes you wonder.
Not that.
If bending the rules a little is okay.
Yeah.
For the greater good, right?
Mm-hmm.
Does that then open the door for, like, bigger misconduct?
You're thinking like a slippery slope kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a crucial question.
Do they answer it?
The article doesn't shy away from it at all. They point out that this rational leniency, it can become like ingrained,
Okay.
in the culture.
Like unspoken.
Almost like an unspoken rule.
What happens in the field stays in the field?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
But it's a bit more nuanced than that.
Okay, so give me an example. What are we talking about here?
So MSF's experience in Yemen, they really relied on local guards.
Yeah. For security.
Yeah, for security, of course. But these guards were often absent.
Absent? Like how often?
Frequently absent without any explanation.
That's frequently.
Think like 48 days worked, 49 days unaccounted for.
It's like a coin toss, whether they show up.
Basically a 50-50 split.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's not bending the rules.
And it's rewriting the rule book, right?
Exactly.
And here's the thing.
Yeah.
MSF adapted their policies
It did.
to accommodate this.
No way.
They created a whole new category of leave
Seriously.
for these unexplained absences.
So they just accepted it.
They recognized that, the guard's contribution, it outweighed enforcing a standard attendance rule.
So it wasn't even enough to look the other way. They had to formalize it.
Exactly.
But then doesn't that make accountability sort of meaningless?
It's a good question. And it leads us to those limits of mercy we were talking about.
Okay.
Because, yeah, MSF, they show a lot of tolerance.
Yeah.
For certain things, but
there's a but coming.
There are lines they won't cross.
Yeah.
They're willing to bend the rules,
yeah.
even rewrite them
right.
to make things work.
To deal with those realities on the ground.
Exactly.
But, command, there's got to be a limit, right?
There is.
Like, when does MSF actually say, nope, that's it, we're done?
Well, it seems like they draw the line when it comes to the mission itself.
Okay.
When the actual mission is at stake.
So what are we talking?
Things like theft.
Okay.
Financial misconduct. Abuse of power.
Yeah.
That's where they consistently come down hard.
Yeah. Those are serious accusations to make.
Right.
And I can see how letting that kind of behavior slide would undermine everything. Their whole operation.
Exactly.
It could jeopardize everything.
And it would completely undermine public trust.
Oh, absolutely, because they need that public image.
They rely on it.
The donations, the support, it's their lifeline.
So safeguarding their reputation, that's paramount, even if it means,
airing their dirty laundry.
In a way, yeah.
Wow, so it's like accountability becomes a way to protect themselves.
You could see it that way.
They protect their image, and by doing that, they protect their mission.
Precisely.
It's kind of savvy when you think about it.
It is, and they've actually taken concrete steps.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, to address these issues head on.
What kind of steps?
Internal reporting mechanisms.
Like what?
Think whistleblower hotlines.
Oh.
Specifically for this kind of misconduct.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's like they're saying, we're serious about this.
Exactly.
We want to know if something's wrong.
And it's one thing to just say you have a zero tolerance policy.
Right.
But it's another thing entirely to back it up.
To actually have a system in place so that way people can come forward without fear of retribution.
Exactly. So this commitment to transparency.
Even when it's uncomfortable.
Yeah. Even then, it seems to be key.
To how they walk that line.
Between compassion and accountability.
It's a tightrope walk, for sure.
It is.
Speaking of those gray areas.
Yeah.
Let's go back to those guards in Yemen for a second.
Okay.
If MSF is willing to create a whole new policy just to keep them on board, doesn't that suggest different rules for different people?
You're hitting on something the article points out as well.
What's that?
A hierarchy within MSF.
Hierarchy.
Yeah, where some groups get more leeway than others.
Okay, I gotta ask, who gets more leeway?
Well, the article suggests it's those with longer-term contracts.
Okay.
Specialized skills.
Makes sense.
And often those from backgrounds similar to the organization's leadership.
So the closer you are to the top, the more understanding you get.
It appears so.
And on the lip side, day laborers, they're held to a different standard.
They are. A much stricter one.
Even though they're doing essential work.
Right. It's a tough truth to confront.
Especially for an organization that prides itself on humanitarian values.
It does make you think.
It feels like a disconnect.
Between their actions and their ideals.
Exactly.
And the article doesn't shy away from that tension.
Good.
It doesn't try to sugarcoat it.
They're not afraid to point out the flaws.
They acknowledge the challenges, but they also highlight the shortcomings.
It's a good reminder.
What's that?
That even the organizations doing this incredibly important work, organizations with these amazing values,
of course,
they're still made up of people.
At the end of the day, yeah.
And people are complicated.
That's the truth, isn't it?
There's always room for improvement.
Absolutely.
Always room to grow.
To reflect, to examine those blind spots.
Yeah. And speaking of examining biases, let's talk about compassionate leniency.
Okay.
We've talked about the mission.
Right.
About their own self-preservation.
Yeah.
But what about prioritizing the individual? What does that even mean in this context?
Think about the situations these MSF workers face every single day. Putting their lives on hold.
Yeah.
Working in dangerous places.
Right.
Witnessing trauma firsthand.
Heavy stuff.
That takes a toll.
It's got to mess you up.
It does.
It's got to have some kind of impact.
On your mental and emotional state.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So when an MSF worker makes a mistake, the article suggests there's this tendency to see their actions through the lens of what they've been through.
Because of the work.
Exactly.
So there's this understanding that they've already given so much.
They've sacrificed so much. They've earned some leeway.
Some grace.
Precisely.
Wow.
The article actually uses the term organizational debt.
Organizational debt? What's that?
It's like MSF owes these individuals a certain level of understanding.
Because of what they've been through.
Yes, because of the burdens they carry.
For the organization.
Exactly.
That's actually a really powerful way to think about it.
It is.
It acknowledges that human cost.
Yeah.
Not just the money or the logistics, but what it takes out of these people.
Emotional toll.
Exactly.
But then it also raises the question.
Yeah.
How far does that compassion go?
Right. Is there a limit?
Does it excuse everything?
At what point does leniency become enabling?
It's a delicate balance.
It is, and I imagine those lines.
Yeah.
They get blurry.
They do.
Especially when you bring cultural differences into the mix.
Exactly. That's where it gets even more complex. Cultural differences.
Yeah, how do you even begin to untangle that?
It's tough, right?
When you're trying to figure out what's right and wrong.
What's acceptable, what's not.
Especially in different cultures.
Yeah, because what might be totally fine in one place.
Right, could be completely off limits somewhere else.
Exactly. And the article talks about how even when you're trying to be culturally sensitive, things can get messy.
Especially when it comes to power dynamics.
Yeah, exactly. And accountability.
Do they give any examples?
They do. There's one that really stood out to me.
Okay, what happened?
A female staff member reported potential harassment.
Oh, no.
But it sounds like her account was dismissed.
Dismissed.
Downplayed because of the perpetrator's background.
Their cultural background.
Yeah, that's what they said.
Wow. That's
one.
It makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah, feels like a slippery slope.
Like you're excusing bad behavior.
And that's the danger, isn't it?
Yeah. Where do you draw the line?
Exactly. And the article raises that very question.
That's a good question. How do you balance cultural sensitivity with, well,
with a clear code of conduct?
A code that says harassment is not okay.
No matter what.
It's like they're trying to be two things at once.
Yeah. Understanding, but also firm.
Sensitive, but also...
It's unwavering.
Yeah, unwavering in their commitment to what's right.
It's a tightrope walk, that's for sure.
And honestly, I don't envy them that position.
It's one of those things where there's no easy answer.
Right, no perfect solution.
And the article acknowledges that.
That's good. At least they're not pretending to have all the answers.
Yeah, sometimes just recognizing the complexity is a step forward.
It is. It shows they're thinking critically about these issues.
Exactly. They're willing to grapple with the tough stuff.
And it's a good reminder for all of us, I think.
What's that?
That even these organizations doing such important work.
Saving lives.
With such admirable goals.
Yeah. The best of intentions.
They're still a work in progress.
Still figuring it out as they go.
It's human, you know?
It is.
We all make mistakes. We all have blind spots.
And that's okay, as long as we're willing to learn and grow.
Exactly, and to hold ourselves accountable.
To each other, to our values.
Yeah, it's that constant tension, isn't it?
Between doing what's right.
And what's easy.
Between forgiveness.
And accountability.
It's something we all grapple with, not just these big organizations.
Absolutely, it's that human element.
That's what makes it so fascinating, I think.
Me too. It's not black and white.
It's messy, it's complicated.
But it's real.
And it's worth talking about.
Absolutely. So if there's one thing you take away from today's deep dive,
what's that?
It's that even the most well-intentioned among us,
yeah,
we still have work to do.
We can always be better.
More compassionate, more accountable.
To ourselves, to each other.
To the world around us.
Well said.
And on that note, we're going to wrap things up.
Until next time.
This has been a deep dive into the complexities of compassion and accountability.
Thanks for joining us.
We'll see you next week.